Out of the week. We got the Christmas light up in the background, trash can in the background. You know it's gonna be a good video when you got a good background. So here we go. Let's give some quick context to this workout. So this is my Tuesday workout last week, and Tuesdays are for the squats. So we're gonna kind of go over a little bit of like maybe like some positioning for the squats, maybe some advice, some tips for the squats, what a good squat entails, etc., etc. So now let's give a little bit more context to this workout. So my Monday workout is centered around getting my shoulders a little bit bigger because I got like really tiny shoulders. I'm trying to get really strong overhead. And then the other thing I'm working on Monday is fixing my ankle because I mangled my ankle about probably going on 7 months ago trying to do this. So this is my attempt at an off the wall backflip, which went terribly wrong. I'll try to zoom in a little bit so you can maybe like actually see what happened here. So let me rewind that here. And boom, right there, that left ankle right here. So the weirdest thing about this is that it was an inside ankle sprain. I've never had an inside ankle sprain. So usually when I'm playing basketball, you know, you land and you roll your ankle towards the outside, and then that tendon is like the strongest and thickest like tendon in the ankle, so it takes the longest to heal. So quite honestly, I was playing basketball like about 3 weeks after that. Um, but the biggest thing was that some of the scar tissue after it healed, it caused a little bit of impingement in the front of my ankle. So that's been the most aggravating thing. It's been a nightmare to try and squat. So that's what I do on Mondays is I just do some ankle exercises to help that. But they're also ankle strengthening exercises. So I'm getting stronger in the process. So maybe I'll go through my Monday workout one of these days. But anyways, that's a little bit of context. And the other thing I did on Monday as a warm up is I was feeling pretty good. So I just did some jumps. Um, and then my jumps, let me flip it again. So these jumps are just like 85%. I didn't want to go like all out on these jumps. I like 85% because it gives you that like dopamine rush and you feel like you're accomplishing something, which is really really important. So these are just some jumps, and this is the day before. So kind of tuckering myself out, getting all sweaty and stuff, and then I did my ankle range of motion exercises. There's be doing my jumpity jumps. There you go, bada bing. And so I did all the touches on each side, left leg, right leg, touch with my left hand, touch with my right hand, just trying all different dynamic stuff. There's no really rhyme or reason to it. It's kind of fun, you know? You just got to have fun sometimes. All right, so now we're getting into the Tuesday workout. So it's Tuesday morning. Got my Batman hoodie on. The first thing I like to do before I squat, honestly, I try to get like warm, maybe do some like maybe shooting around like basketball or something. I think I did some dribbling drills this day, but sometimes I just walk in the gym and just start to kind of just do some static stretching just because my body is really really tight from the day before. Jumping makes me really tight. Upper body's really tight, and I have early mornings on Tuesdays. So my body's just tired on Tuesdays. So I just kind of like try to get in my groove, get in my head, play some like sick tunes. And so yeah, so the first thing I like to do is I like to stretch the piriformis and the glutes. So this is an incline piriformis stretch. I kind of like to see how my body's feeling, how my back's feeling. I can see I'm kind of tight because I can usually get my head to my foot on this. So that's one of the things. That's the most important thing about a warm up is that you just gotta like kind of become in tune with how your body's feeling throughout the day because your body's just going to really fluctuate throughout the week and how it feels, its range of motion, things like that. So you really got to just kind of listen to your body before you do the workout and learn, hey, what's this workout gonna what's gonna happen this workout? Is it gonna be a tough one? It's gonna be a hard one? And chances are, if you've been working out for a long time, you're gonna know like, this is gonna be a hard workout, or this is gonna be a great workout because my range of motion is better. So anyway, there's like a little indicators here and there where you're just kind of like, okay, well maybe if I can gain the range of motion here as I'm stretching, it's gonna enhance, the range of motion in the squat, etc. So I think I did like a total of maybe 5 minutes on each side of this stretch, just to kind of open up. And there's a whole debate on static stretching and then if it reduces power stuff like that. There's me just glancing at the camera. That's really creepy. But yeah, I've noticed that that's just a whole other talk that we can debate, but that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about the workout of the day. So this one, I noticed that my left hip, the internal rotation was kind of off. So if you can see, like, and this might be kind of weird, but the butt cheeks are kind of pointed, they're kind of off-centered. So I like to really just try to, rotate this hip in, and I noticed that just automatically when I got into the stretch, it just automatically wanted to externally rotate. So nothing wrong with that, but you just need ability in your internal and external range of motion in the hips to squat. So rotation is important. And so, just kind of working within those things. And so, yeah, I think I did like a total of 10 minutes of stretching of this piriform. I stretched till I actually really felt comfortable and I felt like my body was kind of like relaxing the piriformis. I like this stretch too because kind of opens up the hip flexors. Stretching the hip flexors isn't really highly recommended for me before squatting. It's more of like a before deadlifting or something like that. But I don't know. I like that this angle right here allowed for my ankle to get some range of motion as well because I get a stretch in the toe, get a stretch in the back of the ankle, and obviously ankle range of motion. So who knows why this stretch is really, really good before squatting, but I like doing it. There's a lot of different reasons why. Loosens the hips, loosens the ankles, bada bing, bada boom. All right, so then after that, I did about 3 minutes of calf stretching. I stretch the calves pretty commonly and pretty frequently. I think I played disc golf the day before, so it's just a lot of walking around. If you walk a lot, you're going to be using your calves a lot, so it's just important to stretch the calves, especially before squatting. It's just going to open up the ankle range of motion a lot more. So yeah, I think I did like 3 minutes on each side, alternating maybe 1 minute every single time until my calves just like felt like they were actually getting a little bit more range of motion, especially on this side with that ankle impingement, just kind of feeling that out of my head, like, okay, how does this feel today? Because some days when I'm really rested, I don't feel it at all, and other days when I'm just like really tired, like the pain in my brain is just like, hey, remember that ankle sprain? I'm like, oh yeah, thanks brain. All right, so then after that, after my calves were all oh yeah, and I have like double jointed knees, so sometimes it's really difficult to challenge the stretch in my calves because my knees will just pop back. So yeah, that's kind of strange. But so yeah, that's another reason why I have like really really weak calves because it's hard to stretch them because I have double jointed knees. Anyways, all right, so here's my squats, and we're gonna go over some of the key points of the squat. Um, so the first thing, this is a high bar back squat, and this is what I would call an athletic squat. So there's different types of squats, and there's different purposes behind a squat. There's power lifters who are just trying to lift as much weight as possible. With that type of squat, you only have to go to 90 degrees because if you're powerlifting in a competition, that's all you have to do. So there's no reason to overdo it and go, below parallel if your sport requires you not to go below parallel. But the reason I, perform more of an athletic squat is because I play a lot of basketball and I see the squat as not just a strength exercise; it's also a flexibility exercise. You get a lot of range of motion in the ankles and the hips and the knees and the back and things like that, in the upper body as well. So it's a great exercise all around. And so the purpose of the athletic squat is not necessarily how much weight is on the bar. It's one, the stimulus on the body, and then two, it's the position of the body. So you want as vertical a position as possible. So with a powerlifting squat, the emphasis is using the bigger muscles as much as you can. It's going to allow you to use a lot more weight. There's a lot more focus on externally rotating the hips because that's going to allow you to use the hip muscles. And a lot of times you'll see them do a lot wider stance because that allows them to have less range of motion, which makes the squat a lot easier. But here we're not trying to make the squat easier or harder. We're just trying to find the correct stimulus and we're trying to get the correct position. So the first positioning point I want you to notice is the starting position. With a powerlifting squat, there's a lot of emphasis on hips back first. With an athletic squat, there's an emphasis on hips back, but then also creating some range of motion in the ankles. So a lot of times people say, oh, knees forward, but that's not actually what's happening. What's happening is the ankle is pulling like this. That's called dorsiflexion. So the ankle is dorsiflexing, and you're using the shin muscle to kind of pull the knee forward. So you're not pushing the knee forward. You're actually driving the heel into the ground, and you're using your shin to pull the toe up, and that keeps the heel down. But as a result of that, the knee starts to come forward. So this is going to allow for a more vertical and upright squat. And then it's also going to allow for more range of motion as well. Because if you didn't do this and you just squatted, the torso angle is going to be way far forward. I don't know if I mentioned this, but this is my first time actually squatting without heel elevation because of my ankle injury. So this is kind of this isn't like a super, super heavy squat, but to me, this is like awesome because, I haven't been able to do this in like over probably almost 7 months. So anyways, that's kind of the first key positioning point starting off is the torso in a back squat is going to be, the purpose of the back squat is to keep the torso angle the same as the shin angle. So in a front squat, because the weight is up here, you want to keep as much, like, the torso has to be as vertical as possible, or else you're gonna cave in and crash if your legs aren't strong enough. Um, and But the purpose of the back squat is to keep, so there's gonna be a little bit more forward lean in the back squat than like something like a front squat, but you still have to try to keep a relatively tall torso. Um, and then I've been playing around with arm positioning, elbow positioning. My elbows would shoot up a lot before, and so I've figured out that if I actually just start my elbows a little bit higher and actually contract my mid back like pre, I would try to get my elbows under because I thought that that looked cool and that was better, but it just caused my elbows to shoot up. And my elbows shot up, my torso would cave. So if I start with a more actually, tall torso, with my elbows pre-back with that contraction in my upper back, it actually helps a lot more. And I played around with different like widths with my hands. I've been squatting for a long time, so I kind of like a fairly narrow grip because I have the range of motion for it. And again, the squat is a range of motion exercise. All right, so anyways, now we're going down, and the tempo today is for 1x2, so it's just a 1 second at the bottom and explode on the way up. And so now once you see here, kind of getting to the bottom, again, you have that shin angle. And then one of the most important things when you're squatting is noticing what happens on the way up. So you can keep it relatively pretty on the way down. And my goal is, to cover as much of the hamstring to the calf as possible. But then what happens on the way up is the greatest telltale of, is your positioning correct and what is the stimulus? Okay, so notice on the way up, the knee does not shoot back. Everything is going up at the same time. That means that the entire lower body, the glutes, the hamstrings, the quads, and even the lower part of the body, the shins and the feet, are moving at the same time. There's a co-contraction. Whereas if you see the weight getting heavier, a lot of times this happens, or if people are powerlifting, the knees shoot back and then your body automatically reverts to the really, really stronger muscles of the body, which is like the hips and the back and things like that, to move the weight. So you'll see the knee shoot back, and you'll see the butt shoot up, and they call it the stripper squat. Anyways, so thankfully this did not happen with me. I used to squat like this all the time because I didn't know how to squat and I didn't know what I was doing. But here, if you notice that the knees stay, forward on the way up. And that's really what you want, and that's what you're looking for in a proper squat. Torso stays up, and just grinding out those reps. And then in between the squats, that's all with the squats. I think I worked up to a 5 rep max, so I've been doing this thing where I do 5-5-3. So I do 5 rep max 1 week, 5 rep max the next week, and then 3 rep max the next week. And so yeah, it's been working out well. In between those squats, I like to stretch my hamstrings because the range of motion, the hamstrings, it kind of assists in the range of motion in the calves, especially behind the knee. And then it just allows just for more range of motion. And if you notice that my back today was like, there was like no movement really in the lower back. So I was just trying to get just some movement there in between. So I was doing these elephant walks, kind of contracting the quads. I think I did sets of 40 reps in between each squat. And then so Monday is my push day where I do like presses or something like that. Namely, right now working on my shoulders, and then Tuesdays is pull day. Now this is what I did. I think I did 5 sets of, I think 6 reps with 60-second rest in between. No, 6 reps. I think it was all sixes. So it's like 6 sets. No, 5 sets, 6 reps with 60 seconds in between of pull-ups. I'm not a huge fan of like wide grip pull-ups for athletes. They if your lats get way too strong, they can tend to dominate some of the other muscles that are really required in performing athletic movements. I mean, you've seen the typical bodybuilder with like big lats. Like you can't shoot a basketball with big lats. Like you have to be able to have correct positioning. And sometimes if you overdo it with a more wide grip, pronated grip pull up, then yeah, you can tend to kind of reduce a little bit of athletic potential there. But doing them once every now and then is not bad. I like doing pull ups, and they're really good for the shoulders. So I did this time. I usually switch it up every single week. I think last week I did like supinated chin-ups or something like that. But I did pull-ups this time, and so I just did that just to kind of, strengthen the shoulders, strengthen the arms, get some pulling in, strengthen the abs, whatever, core, whatever you want to call it. So that was that. And I don't know if there's anything else left. Yeah, I think that was it. There's the backflip again. So yeah, that was my Tuesday workout. I don't think I finished with anything else. I think that was it. The duration was maybe 60 minutes. I took a pretty good amount of rest in between the squats. That's really, really important if you're doing, heavier squats, working up to a 5 rep max, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I was really proud of myself. Finally squatting again without the ankle elevation. Not everybody can do that because, maybe you got some really long femurs or something. Your body's just, but no matter what, you have to be working on your hip range of motion. You have to work on your ankle range of motion. You want to set yourself up for the best chance of having the best position and getting the correct stimulus on the squat. So there's my workout. It looks like it's about 16 minutes long. So hopefully you guys enjoy this. And there you go. Bada bing, bada boom.